As he said, my name is Kent Pilkington. I'm the father of a 19-year-old girl with Asperger's syndrome. But I also have close friends with children with autism and various spectrum disorders. So there's a special place in my heart for these parents and these kids. So when my daughter was born, she was 3 weeks premature. And I got to walk up and down the halls of the hospital with her, looking into her little blue eyes that to me just looked like little blueberries. And I formed a really deep, special bond with this little girl who would be in my life forever. And as you're sitting there, how many of you are parents? You have kids. You know what I'm talking about then. When you start forming those expectations and you start forming those hopes and those dreams and those things that you want to be there to experience. The first boyfriends or girlfriends, the breakups, when they start to learn to drive, when they graduate, when they go off to college, when they get married, when they do all these things that you've experienced in your life and you hope for theirs. And you want to be there even for the heartbreaks. If there's a divorce that happens, if there are deaths in the families, you want to be there, and you have these hopes and expectations and dreams of how this will play out. And I want to tell you that for parents of children with special needs, those hopes and dreams and aspirations and expectations are often ripped apart, shredded, and cast away. And as the parent, you have to go through a mourning process as each one of those is ripped away from you. And as you realize that what you thought you were going to have with this child is not what you're going to have. You realize that they may never live independently. You realize that they may never drive. You realize that they may never be able to hold on to a relationship the way that you expected. Your world can become a lot smaller. You realize that if you go out in public, for one of my friends, he's got a 6'2" kid with Asperger's syndrome. This kid does not like his clothes. You've got to realign your expectations with what your child presents, and you realize how little control you have over those things, and how you can teach and you can teach and you can be the best parent that you can be, and it may not make a difference in what your expectations are in terms of their fulfillment. And you start to get to the point where it can be very discouraging. It can be very, like I said, your world can get much, much smaller. And there are two ways to look at this. One is as a tragedy. And it is a tragedy. It really is. This child will always be different. This child will often be made fun of. This child they're not going to experience a lot of the things that we count on for a normal, fulfilling life. The other way to look at it is as an adventure. It's the unanticipated adventure, but it can still be an adventure. You have to learn to take those little moments that happen, that when you're out and they disappear in the crowd and you just you have no clue where, yes, this can happen with a normal child, but it usually doesn't happen at 15 or 16 years old. When I was walking with my daughter the other day. She's 19 years old. She turned to me and she said, "So how is your life going?" I have never heard that question before. I have never heard that level of concern, that level of intimacy, that level of connection from my 19-year-old daughter before that day. I had to hold back the tears in order to answer her question, and it took me a minute to do that. And so you have to find those special moments, those things that you've seen other people do and you never thought would happen to you, because you had those expectations ripped away from you. You have to dig deep inside of you and find where that strength is going to come from. You have to find those moments. What's my time? Excellent. When you see these parents, give them a pat on the back. give them encouragement, and if you have an hour to watch their kids for them and give them a break, please do so. It means so much. Thank you. And thank you for the Avian audience back here that's been so patiently listening.
Backup band. Thank you.
Yes.